Welcome to Honestly Speaking, a safe place to be unsafe. Life commentary and dialogue from a biblical, logical, cultural, and comical perspective.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl, Honest-Leigh from Honestly Speaking. Welcome back to the channel. Just got finished a great conversation with Nikki Afuniga on the tough topic of empathy. It's in our segment that we call Eating Elephants, which is all about how to tackle tough topics that it's going to take a long time. Woo, that's a lot of T's. But empathy is important, especially in this day and age. And speaking of empathy, how are you doing? It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and talking about things is important. Let's get real for a second. So today was a really tough day. And in most situations, I just wanted to come home and drink something brown. Something very disturbing happened today. And it made me think about this being Mental Health Awareness Month. If you didn't know, I have 5 brothers. I am the only girl, so I tend to speak guy pretty well. One of the things I wanted to talk about as a result of what happened today and me thinking of just my life circumstances is how men and women experience emotions and how society gives us permission to talk about those emotions. Now, this is going to be very ranty. This isn't going to be my normal put together, chopped up type of video. This whole thing is very close to being a rant, because it is that important to me. So what happened today made me think about a tale of 2 stories. One happened from one of my facilitators at my job. So what I do is I facilitate groups to help individuals understand what mental health challenges are and what to do in case of a mental health crisis. One of my co-facilitators was on the way to a training and he noticed something that was very disturbing to him, and so he brought it back and shared it with me, and I instantly knew why it was disturbing. And it made me think of another story that wasn't disturbing and was healthy. So he's on the train and it's time to get off the train, and a woman is coming up the steps with her son. Now the son was so small that it was difficult for him to get up the steps. So the mom let the son's hand go so that he could walk up the steps by himself. He falls and hurts himself. If you know anything about subway steps, they're often cement reinforced with metal. And the little boy falls down and he lets out a wail. And before he could even finish his expression of his pain, his mom instantly chastised him. She said, "Get up. Don't act like a little." She called him a. She said, "I'm not raising any." She said, "You're not a girl. Don't act like a girl." And this enraged the co-facilitator that was on his way. So he was processing this on many levels through different intersections and through many lenses. And in talking about that, what I realized is we all feel basically the same emotions: sad, glad, mad, and afraid. And sometimes people like to say that excitement or disgust are their own category too, but for the most part, everyone agrees on sad, mad, glad, and afraid are at the base of everything. But society gives each sex of individual permission to express certain emotions in particular ways. What do I mean by that? Both men and women feel all of these emotions, but they're not allowed to express them the same way. Typically, men are told man up, and they're not allowed to express sadness or pain, and especially fear. But they are allowed to be happy and angry, and especially angry. But if they're happy, they're not allowed to smile. They can only laugh in certain situations, if you're watching a comedy show, but not smile. I remember seeing pictures of men with stone cold faces and I was like, whoa, what was going on in this picture? And they're like, "That's the day my son was born." what? No smile, no expression. But when I talk to them, they're like, I was elated. Oh, and don't let them cry. My friend who's a Latino male, he's the one that said, Lee, we can only show happiness and anger. And you're only allowed to express some type of pain if it's someone that was close to you that passed away. Don't go crying for no distant cousin. No, they're not having it. And I thought that to be very saddening. And I understood because I saw it. I saw the world and different systems who have these toxic views and understanding of gender roles invade and suppress both men and women. Because the funny thing is, the very emotion that men are allowed to express the most, women aren't allowed to express at all. Anger. The moment a woman expresses that she's angry, she's called an angry woman. And especially as a black woman, you can't be an angry black woman. It's literally a term. Why? Because society says that women aren't supposed to express themselves in a particular way that can come off as threatening. But both feel the same exact things. And I begin to think about a situation that I knew of and noted how that situation was very much healthy in comparison to the former situation. I remember seeing a young lady and her dad. She was about 5 and she was walking and she fell and instantly she cried. And her dad didn't scold her. He didn't tell her to suck it up. And he also didn't coddle her. He looked at her and said, "Are you okay?" And she said no. And he inspected her and he told her, "It's okay to cry, but you are fine. This may hurt. You're gonna be okay. Now let's wipe your face and get up and let's keep going." He was tough and tender. He gave the young lady permission to express how she felt. He did not scold her for feeling certain ways, and he actually validated the fact that it was normal to cry when you feel pain. What this does is create toxicity in both sexes so that when the two come together, they won't be able to have functional relationship. The way it plays out is often like this. Guy and girl argue. Guy gets angry, he's hurt, so he walks away. And the woman calls after the man and she thinks that he doesn't care. And that's not the case. The more you hurt a man, the quieter he gets. The more you hurt a woman, the louder she gets. I remember arguing with my brother once. We had calmed down and I was talking to him about what the root of the issue was. And he said something to the effects of, you know, if you were a guy, I would have punched you in your face. And my brother wasn't threatening me. He was letting me know that he couldn't treat me like he would treat a guy. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we would have been talking. We would have just fought and we would be good. But girls hold on to everything. And he wasn't lying. I still know the girl who stole my beret in the 3rd grade. Keisha Banks. I can't stand that heifer. But it's true. Women tend to hold on to certain things. And men seem like they let things go. But inside scoop, they don't let stuff go either. They just are willing to move on until certain things come back up. But for the most part, we both feel the same things. Society only gives us permission to express it in certain ways. And that's where the issue comes in. Because if we continuously have men suppress their emotions, there's no wonder that men are more likely to go to jail. If they're young men, they're more likely to get suspended, have some type of disciplinary record. And young women are constantly getting written off as being emotional when they give themselves permission, when they tap into their agency and recognize that, hey, what I feel is important. And so it creates a very vicious cycle, especially if you're a parent. Because just like with that parent that I mentioned earlier, that woman who was taught toxic masculinity is now teaching toxic masculinity to her son. So that way, when he gets older, looks at her and calls her a and anything else negative, then she won't understand. But when you say things like, don't act like a girl, or quit acting like a and then at the same time scold the young man for feeling emotions that are naturally understandable for him to feel, what you then do is condition that young person's mind to think that being a woman is a negative thing and that it's a synonym for the word and somehow the FAG slur. So that when that young man grows up and looks at the mom and then says, well, you're a she will be stuck as to why does he say that? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the cycle that we have? And it has to be broken. So that's my rant. It's just a question. We gotta get better with how we process emotions. Men and women feel the same things, and we need to allow each other to express their emotions in particular ways. What happened with my brother was I literally had to show him by saying, if I hurt you, you have to say, when you do this, it makes me feel like this. He had been told by society to suppress how he felt. Man up. And what my brother had to do with me was understand that when I was expressing my emotions, I was not challenging his masculinity. That wasn't a form of disrespect. That actually was me owning my own emotion. So what do you think? Do you think that men and women are very different and it's just no working anything out? What are some emotions that you find difficult to deal with? And how were you taught to process your emotions? Were you taught that some emotions were just girl emotions and other emotions were just negative emotions? Because I get real upset when people try to make my sex or my gender an insult, you know? We have all of these ridiculous sayings like, grow some balls. You don't hear anyone say, hey man, you're not sensitive. You need to grow some ovaries. But tell me what you think. I'm honestly speaking. I hope and pray we get it together. One more thing. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and then share it. And then tell your friends to hit like, subscribe, and then share it. You know, kind of like how we feel compelled sometimes, but irritated when we get those chain mails like, God is gonna bless you if you share this. Yeah, do that with this, because people hate them, but they still send them. Do that with this. Somebody will bless you. I don't know if it's gonna be God, but somebody's gonna bless you if you share this.